three-dimensional state of thinking, brought it all the way up to a fifth-dimensional galactic state of consciousness. Our frequency of thought has now become so high, so powerful, and so loving and joyful that the only thing that makes any sense, the only thing that really will bring us joy at that point, is helping others to get themselves to that state of consciousness. Now, of course, we cannot force anybody or drag anybody to that level. Ascension process is something that has to be voluntarily undertaken. The best we can do is plant seeds, broadcast our loving intent to others in our lives, so that they see with their own eyes the fruits of your consciousness expanding in your body, in your mind, and in your life. And that alone will touch the right people at the right times to get them to ask you, hey, what is it that you've done? You're different. Something special about you. I always knew you were a little different, but now you seem really different. And so you just share with them what you've experienced. Share with them that little taste that you can give them at that moment of what it means to actually love this reality as it's unfolding. To love the entire planet and all of its chaos and suffering, because we have all come here knowing exactly the chaos and the suffering that was going to be experienced. And we came here with compassion and with love in order to help uplift the frequency of thought in as many lives as we possibly can. And the more we do that, the more we transform our minds and help others to transform themselves. That energy and that consciousness will spread like a beacon of light, affecting the morphogenic field of the entire planet. So as each of us becomes a brighter light, we give others permission to become brighter lights as well. And from a mass consciousness perspective, science has already proven that enough people with a focused intent and with love in their heart can and do change the experience of life on this planet. John Hagelin, in one of his largest experiments with what he calls the Maharishi effect, brought together 7,000 meditators doing transcendental meditation and focusing on world peace. And whenever they were focusing during their periods of meditation, worldwide crime and terrorism dropped 72% from just 7,000 people who were able to hold a frequency of love in their hearts. Now just think about that for a moment. 7,000 people dropped worldwide crime 72%. Now imagine that you don't even need to centralize this process. We can have 7,000, we can have 70,000 people simply moving throughout their regular daily lives with love in their hearts, with compassion for others, thinking fourth and fifth dimensional thoughts, thinking literally outside of the box of two or even third dimensional human consciousness. Imagine 70,000 people absolutely lit up with their own divinity. Everywhere they go, just with a smile, just with their presence, with the calmness and the peace of their words, enhancing the lives of those they meet, and enhancing the energy field of people that they'll never meet in person. So this process doesn't take that many of us, and there's a whole lot of us here. And by us, I'm referring to you listening to this show, because you wouldn't be here listening right now if you weren't one of the beings that came to this planet specifically to help uplift its frequency. And for most of us, all we have to do is live our lives from that state of love, allowing, accepting, not judging others, not judging ourselves. We simply need to maintain that frequency and broadcast it to the world. Now, of course, that sounds very simple in words, but as we all know, we all have plenty of baggage, plenty of judgments, plenty of resistance to people in the world and people's dramas in the world. So that's where it becomes very important to clean ourselves up, to delve deeply into the core, deeply into the areas of our lives that cause us pain and that we either resist or identify with, because either one of those is polarizing the energy of a painful experience. Some people identify with it, and they say, look how bad and how terrible my life was. My parents treated me this way. People in school treated me that way. People at my job treat me this way. And all of this is so terrible, and this is my life. That's a whole lot of energy wrapped up in suffering. Now, that energy doesn't need to be there. It doesn't need to perpetuate your suffering or your struggle. All that energy can be reclaimed. The same thing is true for people who have tried to bury or resist their pain. Something bad happens in childhood that they lock it away and they keep it a secret from the world because they're afraid of the world judging them for the experiences of their past. And that fear of being found out, of having secret pain revealed, uses up a tremendous amount of life force energy. So either way, if we're resisting it or we're forming our identity through it, we're using up and really wasting a lot of our energy that would be much better served in broadcasting a frequency of acceptance, love, and alignment with galactic energy. So we'll come back to that process a little bit later for how to deal with where our energies are stuck. I want to bring us back for a moment to galactic consciousness. It's a very, very pleasant state of consciousness to live within. And I know that sounds pretty obvious. The tricky part is living it on a daily basis in the third dimensional world. And the easiest way I've found to do that is to constantly, whenever I think about it, consciously align myself with the energy that's streaming to the planet from the galactic core. There's literally an energetic galactic internet, so to speak, offering a download, new downloads of information, new downloads of holograms, of thoughts that are beyond any thought you've ever experienced to this point in your life. Every day, there's new information being downloaded by the galactic core to the entire galaxy, to our planet, and to your brain if you choose to accept it. Now, this is not an impossible mission. It's actually very simple. So, should you choose to accept it, you simply open up your mind, open up your heart to the galactic core, and ask for the latest download, and you will receive it. Your experience of it will vary from person to person. You may or may not feel a lightning bolt, but you may. But don't judge it. Don't do it for a specific experience, because that's your ego looking for gratification. That's your ego looking to be a self-important being. It's like, oh, ego says, oh look, I have galactic consciousness now. I'm very important. Everybody look at me. You want to set your ego down into the corner when it tries to do that. And just simply allow the information, allow the new thoughts to come into you. And do not allow your ego to form a new identity through this higher information that you're learning. So in the chat, somebody asked, can we talk about the process of taking back our power from the shame of past experiences? Somebody else asked, how does a person that is in a prison like Abu Ghraib keep their galactic consciousness? I'll answer that one first, because honestly, I have no idea. Now I can take a guess, because I have read reports of people who have been to concentration camps in Russia and Germany. But before they went in, they had spiritual knowledge, and they meditated daily on their higher self. And when they were released, because during that time they chose not to identify with the suffering that was being inflicted upon them, but instead they identified only with their higher self. They came out of that system. They came out of those concentration camps actually brighter, more expanded, and more loving than they were when they went in. So those are their experiences. I personally do not have that experience, so I can only relay the stories of others. But I will come back now to Juna, her question about taking back our power from the shame of past experiences. And in a very simple process, when you expand the light of your higher self by bringing it into your body, down through your crown, anchored into your heart, and then anchored into your root chakra. When you expand that light of your higher self, and you let the thoughts of your ego melt away as that light expands, that purifying light of your higher self literally burns away the lower vibrational thoughts of the ego for a short time. And in that space where your ego is no longer judging the pain from your past, you can go to that experience and embrace it. Embrace yourself as you went through that experience. Forgive the people who caused you pain during that experience. Forgive yourself for feeling ashamed about it, for hiding it from the world. Forgive yourself for shutting down and shielding as a result of that pain. And in that state of absolute forgiveness and non-judgment of yourself and of others, you embrace the entire experience through your higher self, and you take back all of the energy and all of the power this